Hello and good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone feeling today? All right, great. Thank you for joining our breakout session. When Domo originally sent us the roster, I was like, great, Sony is on Wednesday, AWS is on Wednesday, and then I realized we were actually competing with lunch. So thank you all for joining our session and missing some of your lunch. Drew and I really, really appreciate that. I don't think the clicker is working. There we go, thank you. So why don't we start with some quick introductions. My name is Jared Katz. I am the head of monetization for Samsung Ads. I've been with the company for 6 years.
And I'm Drew Wolin, manager of business insights and yield. I have been with Samsung Ads for just over a year now.
And we are here today to talk with you about how we use Domo to solve our business challenges. So really quickly about Samsung Ads, just a quick show of hands. How many people have a Samsung TV at their house? Okay, about 3/4 of you, great. With that same hand, how many TVs? 1, 2, that guy's got a lot of TVs, great, love that. Last question, how many of you have watched TV Plus, Samsung TV Plus on that TV? Okay, only a few of you, great. Let's level set about what we're talking about today. So TV Plus is Samsung's free ad-supported streaming service. In our industry, there's an acronym for that. It's called FAST. So our FAST service, Samsung TV Plus, comes pre-installed on all Samsung TVs and mobile devices. Earlier this year, we published some stats on the service. We have 88 million global monthly average users, MAUs, with over 3,000 free channels worldwide. So our session today is to discuss how we, Drew and I and our team, leverage Domo to solve monthly or annual business challenges, primarily around reporting and Samsung TV Plus. So what are the business challenges that needed to be solved? Simply put, our business is complex. It is fragmented. This is not unique to Samsung. This is a broader issue across the entire CTV ecosystem. For us, for a single ad to be served, it touches 10 disparate pieces of ad technology across 50 internal and external components. Each of these systems pass different information on their own nomenclature and taxonomy. Reporting for us was a nightmare. There was aggregation of Excel files, cleansing of incorrect data, all to standardize our output. This was extremely time-consuming, it was inefficient, and it was hard for us to distribute insights to the broader Samsung team. Our vision was to create one singular dashboard that centralized all of Samsung TV Plus reporting metrics in an easy-to-use view. The question we asked ourselves is how are we going to achieve this? The first thing we did was outline our 4 core principles, the what and the why of our problem. Before I get into them, even though I already clicked ahead to the first one, in talking with a lot of you over the last couple of days, this sounds like a pretty familiar problem. We have all of this data, it's amazing. What do we do with it? And so I hope as Drew and I go through, and especially Drew's portion or Drew's section, there's some really valuable insights for you guys to take away from this. So our first principle was how do we aggregate the required data into Domo so that our end users, our business stakeholders, get actionable insights that they need. On the prior side, we just spoke about the complexion, the fragmentation. Aside from the required Excel files and reporting and everything that we need to do to coalesce this data, there's also additional systems that we needed to aggregate data from. We use Salesforce as our CRM. We use an OMS and order management system. In our industry, that's where the orders go into before they actually get served. So this required extensive back-end infrastructure to operationalize and map out how this would all get aggregated before we could even talk about dashboard design and output. The second core principle, connect the dots from disparate data points to understand business trends. Let's assume that we've aggregated all of this data. Now what? For our team and for a useful dashboard, it needs to have a significant levels of data, coalescing information that can connect the dots within our business so that actions can be taken. The core principle required significant consideration. How we built this dashboard and how the UI flowed and interacted with our end users would really show in the stickiness. I can tell you firsthand that our first iteration, the original UI, went through many significant facelifts, revamps, complete overhauls. This process took us about 6 months to get it right, and that's kind of where we are today. So our third principle, proactive reporting to know when there's an issue or action required. Okay, so let's go back through this. We've aggregated the data. We've connected the dots. We have metrics. We have KPIs. We have a UI that is easy to use, and we're telling a story. Now what? The vision of this dashboard was always multi-purpose. It was a tool to aggregate data and business insights, but why not use this as a method for proactive alerts and triggers? We knew that if we were going to expand the scope, adoption, and onboard additional cross-functional users within Samsung Ads, it would have to do all these additional pieces of additional logic and system alerts. We set out to make sure that any delays in data or significant changes in revenue or KPIs automatically sent a notification to that respective team. Revenue was up or down 30% day over day. Someone should be notified to make sure that data is correct. So that's what we did. And then lastly, democratize the data and grow adoption and usage across the business. So again, we've aggregated the data. We've connected the dots. We've baked in automation, alerts, and functions. How do we continue to grow adoption and usage across all of the cross-functional teams? What is missing, and how do we solicit that feedback to make it better? For Drew and I and the team, the answer was actually really simple. We open sourced it. We did a roadshow. We went to all the key stakeholders, sales, operations, BD, strategy. We said, hey guys, what are we missing? What does this dashboard not have that you need? This led to a significant increase in stickiness of our users because we were addressing their needs. So my section's starting to come to an end. Drew's going to take you guys through the magic of where we are today and going through the ideation to execution. But I think it's important to set some context that these 4 core principles and the actual build out of the dashboard took us most of 2024. We had our first iteration release in Q1 of 24, so almost a full year later, that's how long this process spanned across. So Drew's going to go through how he built out such an amazing, robust ecosystem of Domo dashboards. Before we do, I just want to conclude my session with where we are actually today. So our suite of dashboards now service between 150 and 200 global users every single month. We have an average return rate, so coming back to the dashboard in a given month, 20 times, with some significant outliers of people who come 50 to 100 times, because that data is really important for their business. And these dashboards are global. They span across the US. We have a couple of offices in the US. We have a Canadian office. We have a Korean office. Samsung is a Korean company. Europe, APAC, EMEA, and rest of the world. That's where we are today. Drew, I'd love for you to come up and take the audience through what you've created.
Hi, everyone. Wow, thanks, Jared, for outlining the business context of the what and the why guiding us on this journey. So I'm going to get into the how. And my job here was to take this complex business problem and translate it to technical specifications. Build it out, of course, leaning heavily on Domo all throughout. You might know this hierarchy of needs. It's important, it's great. That's not what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to steal the concept and talk about my hierarchy of needs related to this project. It's kind of taking what Jared just outlined, flipping it on its side, and obviously highlighting that each lower level is crucial. It's a prerequisite as we move up. Okay, so you'll see that this pyramid, it's aggregate the data. We need the raw data. We need to clean it up once that is complete. We need to connect dots, and a lot of this should be familiar for what Jared was just talking about, same wording. Proactive reporting, and then finally what I'm calling data nirvana, which I'm excited to define for you at the end of the presentation. So the foundation of the pyramid is aggregate the data, but I want to add some context here. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to play a quiz. It's multiple choice. I'll help you guys out there a little bit. It's multiple choice. How much does one digital ad cost? So I'll give more context still. Per eMarketer, the leading industry research publication, the global ads industry is projected to see $1 trillion of ad spend in 2025. 1 trillion, okay? So how much does one single digital ad cost? The options are $10, $1, 10 cents, 1 cent, and even less than a penny. Is anyone so bold as to shout out an answer? Otherwise, we can do some hand raising. Okay, great. I heard both ends of the spectrum. $10, less than a penny, $1. So I'm going to talk first to the wrong answer. The wrong answer is $10 and $1, but I understand where you're coming from. That's a smart answer because typically we measure ads in a CPM, that's cost per milli. Milli is Latin for 1,000. The cost of one ad is so tiny that it doesn't make sense to just say 0.000 or however many cents. We measure it per 1,000 ads sold, okay? So $10 and $1, that's how we typically talk about it, but that's per 1,000 ads. So whoever, the lights are incredibly bright. I can't see who gave the right answer, but nice job. It's less than 1 penny. One digital ad's less than 1 penny, okay? We're using this now. Yeah, we already, we got the answer. So we're using this now for the context, okay? Industry-wide, $1 trillion of ad spend. Every ad's a fraction of a penny. These are tens of trillions, hundreds of trillions, or whatever comes next. So much information. Each ad sold does essentially correspond to a line or a record of data, okay? So let's conservatively say for those trillions, we, meaning Samsung, Jared, myself, we are working with, again, conservatively, billions and billions with a B records of data. That's our source. So keeping that crucial context in mind, we're going back to the pyramid. And at the base, we are aggregating these billions and billions of records. The challenges are numerous. There's the scale, and as I just mentioned, it's billions and billions of record. I trust that that point has landed. The scale is incredibly important, but there's also the diversity of sources. The data that I need for this project was spread across Salesforce, our universal data warehouse, some select partners. Maybe there's some niche dimension info that's sent to me in an Excel attachment or a Google Sheet that I'd later need to join to the fact data to enrich it and have it make sense in our business context. Another challenge is reliability. At this scale, we cannot take for granted that every data refresh goes on without a hiccup. Again, billions and billions of records, tons of information. If anything happens upstream, then this could easily impact our entire final data set. Another challenge is flexibility. The data that we bring in, we need to be able to nimbly transform it and put it into just the right views that are visible to just the right people at just the right time. So the feature that I'm highlighting here, I think is familiar, but shout out to the connector product within Domo. So from Domo, this is a quote, "With over 1,000 pre-built connectors and hundreds of other ways to connect to your data, Domo eliminates time-consuming and costly engineering projects." I can personally attest to this being the case. I appreciate the intuitiveness, the speed, the reliability of the tool. Once I set up a connection, if there is an issue, it is seldom, if really never, and I promise, I'm not just saying this because I'm loving my time at Domopalooza. This is genuine. It's really never a problem with the Domo connector tool. It's typically, there's some issue upstream that is then impacting the data refresh once it hits the connector. But when I say upstream, I mean like in the source itself, there's some problem with the data. So it has fulfilled our needs here, the Domo connector. You can see here, this is like, I stole this from Domo's marketing materials. This is like kind of what it looks like in the actual product, but you know, they have connectors to Salesforce, Snowflake, that's where our data warehouse is, Google Sheets, an email. I actually love this feature. Sometimes if there's a repetitive report that an Excel attachment sent via email, then Domo can automatically download that straight from the email and turn it into a data set that I work with. Amazon S3 bucket. Okay, so those billions of records are now in our Domo ecosystem. I can manipulate them, use them as needed. So next up in the pyramid, we're going to clean it up. We're going to clean this data up. The flexibility that I just outlined is certainly a blessing, but this data is coming from so many different sources, and it doesn't automatically speak the same language, what comes from Snowflake and what comes from our data warehouse. Data comes in all different languages. It's all English. For the most part, it's English, but revenue is gross. It's net. Here, it's called spend. There, it's called cost. I also work with a column called custom column 6 that has revenue that I need. The insights and reports are meaningless unless we standardize this in an intuitive way. We need to translate it. So the Domo feature product that I'm highlighting here is the Magic ETL. I lean heavily on the Magic ETL, and also with some reliance on beast modes, and I'll talk about how we use those in a second. And up next, I'll talk about cards. But the Magic ETL allows me to clean up the data set and ensure that I'm getting all of the data that I need across these dozen diverse sources, and everything is translated by the time it reaches the end and I'm pulling it in the dashboard. Of course, my stakeholders don't know what custom column 6 is. I do, they don't. So we need it to speak their language by the time it's pulled in at the end. I'll leave it up a moment because I enjoy looking at my zoomed out ETL once the job finished as a work of art. Just joking around. But the collection of imports and functions and group bys and appends and filters and any of your other transformations, tiles that bring the data together and translate it to be used for the job, these all play a crucial role in pretty much every transformation and final data set that I'm using. So also worth mentioning, we set this up so that if any of the data sets any of the sources upstream have refreshed, then this whole job will rerun so that everything is up to date. Typically, this is daily, if not hourly. Okay, so now we have the raw data. Everything is translated to the right language, as I'm saying. Now it's time to start getting into the fun stuff, connect the dots, okay? So with the data now translated, we're not using this data for back-end machine learning algorithm or something like this. This data is going straight to our key decision makers. The general manager of Samsung Ads is getting my report daily, the head of North America sales as well. In addition to all of his account executives, they're all using this information as a crucial part of their understanding of the business and finding opportunities and things like this. So here the challenges are not so much testing. Oh, we're still good. Okay. Here the challenges are related not so much on the technical side, but we have so many different stakeholders, and understanding their needs intimately is crucial. I need to be able to build a view, send it, get feedback, iterate, and on and on. So the feature that I'm highlighting here is the cards. And of course, we're talking about the cards, right? So in some cases, this can be seen as the early stages of a more comprehensive collection of information. The mic doing okay? A more comprehensive collection of cards or a dashboard, which I'll get to next. But cards are often enough by themselves to satisfy, just as a backup, okay. The cards are often enough to satisfy, some quick ad hoc requests or some pretty simple stuff. Actually, Jared showed me a really great feature early on when I joined Samsung, the quick filters feature. So on the side of a card, it doesn't need to be in a dashboard, but if you just need something simple like, I don't know, like a month filter or maybe a specific account filter, that can happen just in the card itself. So I appreciate the flexibility of the cards, and this is kind of where we're perfecting the views that our stakeholders need to get the information that they need. Okay, so now we've built the cards. Those show in a really meaningful way all the different metrics that we're interested in: revenue, impressions, performance metrics. And all of them are, again, crucially, from those billion records at the start, they're now synthesized into something much smaller and in a consistent language. Still, we're servicing more than 100 different users across a dozen teams. So they don't all have identical use cases. So this is, again, from the individual account executive up through the head of North America sales. This is from strategy, product, finance, customer success. All of these teams are using this dashboard daily, often multiple times a day, honestly. There's so many people who need access to this data. And so next up is we have the proactive reporting. We're starting to push these insights and this information in a place where they can get exactly what they need. So how can I set up one home that serves everybody? Those stakeholders, even if they're on the same team and in essentially the same function, they don't all have the same use cases. At the very least, they're servicing different accounts. So is it even possible? Are we dreamers? It turns out it is possible. This is a tiny screenshot. Don't worry, I will zoom in shortly. But this is a screenshot of the whole dashboard that was built that we are saying it's hundreds of views daily. So yes, it is possible. In one link and one home, our TV Plus summary dashboard, this allows all of these people to go to the same place and get just the right data at just the right time. All consistent. Everyone's looking at the same thing. No more like Excel file v3 sent there, and then there's a refresh and v6 sent there, and looking at different, slightly different timelines and things like this. I'll go through a bunch of features that I love before getting to our final step that, again, I refer to as data nirvana. So right, that last slide was too small. So here, we're zooming in a little bit. Here's the upper third of the dashboard, which is a highly customizable filter section. Stakeholders will come to the dashboard knowing exactly what they want. And from this initial billion rows that we started with, after just 1 or 2 clicks, our stakeholders will have access to exactly what they want. So you can see here, the default I have set to is filter to the current quarter. So that dynamically updates whatever the current quarter is. But maybe they just want to look at March. They could filter to March. Maybe they just want to select their own team. If there's a sales leader, they could select their own sales team. Maybe there's just one specific partner that they want to look at. And so, performance is important. So we lay out all the options there, but also in the ETL, we pay mind to aggregating the data as best as possible so that when we are filtering here, everything is done snappy. In a second or less, it's done, and they have what they need. So here's the middle third of the dashboard. Excuse the censored bars. There's nothing naughty. It's just sensitive financials data. I'm sure you can understand. But that's covering a pivot table. So on the last slide, we looked at the filters. And say, for example, we only want 2025 data. Okay? On this slide, I'm highlighting the variable feature. So again, it's all in the same home, all 100 stakeholders in the same place. Along the right-hand side, you could see a collection of about, I think it's 15 or 20 or so dimensions that they're repeatedly looking at. So like in a past iteration, this would be living across like so many different views in the same dashboard. And it's just a lot of clutter. It's impossible to achieve our goal of making just one home for all of these stakeholders. But say I want to come in here and I want this. I want the graph to be by day. That's looks like it's by day there now. And I want to look at partner revenue. So I can easily get that. And in a second, the graph updates to partner revenue. But say that a sales leader wants to come in and look at revenue for their team just by team. So in the same exact view, the variable feature allows the graph to update. And also the pivot table allows for like a deeper dive. So it's doing the same thing where the first column is whatever dimension you choose. And then off screen, it didn't fit on the screenshot, but below that dimension 1 variable set is dimension 2. And that is the second column in the pivot table. Again, that's more for deep dives. The dashboard received really strong feedback overall, but to be honest with you, it was this feature that was kind of the icing on the cake that really got like such incredibly positive feedback. Here I'm kind of going through the same page, but highlighting a few more features. So the title of the card is static, but you in the dashboard, you could put in a text, I don't know what it's called, text card, text. You can put in text. And then it's going to be dynamic. So in this example, the variable chosen is total. So that's equivalent to no variable being chosen at all, really. It's just what's our total revenue by day. And then the title above the graph is going to update dynamically, okay? Here we change it to partner revenue, and you can see that oftentimes folks are screenshotting this dashboard and then maybe slacking it to a colleague, or just like a very quick answer is needed. And so having this this dynamic title is very helpful for those use cases, like the screenshotting and slacking over use case. We mentioned proactive reporting, so I'll highlight another feature that we're using. So from this dashboard, we're also sending out reports to an agreed upon cadence. So in this case, this is our yield daily to the interested parties. So again, our general manager of Samsung Ads is receiving this report every morning, and this is the way that he is starting his day and evaluating the health of our business. He's seeing how did we do yesterday compared to the prior day, seeing how did we do this month compared to the same time prior month, and all of these types of insights. And again, that's what we're considering starting to move more toward the proactive, emailing directly to the inbox. Kind of in that same vein of time period comparisons, this is back to the dashboard now, but I love Domo's feature, again, highlighting these features that I've gotten a lot of benefit from. Out of the box, you can do a time period comparison, and I do make very good use of those. So I have this filtered to something like March, and then I don't need any kind of complex logic, like I could write out some SQL in beast mode and then do this, but it's not necessary. Domo has as a default feature is a time period comparison where I'm saying, please show me revenue by day in March, and then show me how we did compared to a week ago, show me how we did same time frame compared to a year ago, and that's what those lines are going across the graph. Again, excuse the censored bars. It's fine. Censored bars covering financial data. We're at the home stretch. We've reached data nirvana. That was a lot, for sure. But I'm going to get a little bit more philosophical with this one, not so much in the weeds technical. And to me, this is really the main, kind of the home run of this whole project. To me, this final stage is about delivering outstanding results to our customers that they can rely on. Relying on it is just absolutely crucial here. It's about our stakeholders' peace of mind. This data is useful, it's intuitive, its layout, it's always in the same place. It always looks the same. You have control over changing it up however you want, but it's always something that you're familiar with. It's easy to find. You can bookmark it. You can go to Domo.com. It's just right there. And it's reliable. So it's there when they need it. It's become an integral part of how they view the business now. And if it wasn't so reliable, then they wouldn't be so willing to let this be such an important part of their day. So we're able to use these variety of features that I just went through, plus more. I didn't cover everything, but highlighting the really important ones within Domo to make this all happen. We're at the key takeaways section, so bear with me for another couple of minutes, and I'm going to go through what I hope you took away, and then we can open up to Q&A. I also want to say thanks again. You chose us over lunch. Thank you. I know that we have a conflicting time here, and also there's other great presentations going on, so really appreciate you being here with Jared and myself. Really hope you learned something. So recapping the key takeaways, first is automating reporting saves time and money for a business, as it did for us. It shifts valuable human capital from data and reporting to analysis and insights. Second, this automated reporting allows for deeper solutions and insights. It can take enormous data sets of billions of records, have you heard that before? Billions of records, and surface just the right insights to just the right people at just the right time in an easy to digest format. And finally, automation allows for mass distribution of reporting, whether it's a single home for all stakeholders to access the data they need, or relevant and interesting reporting sent directly to their email inbox. There's just one source of truth with the same data that everybody is looking at, and they can filter it to make it theirs. That's it. We'll open it up to Q&A. Thank you. Let me put this down. Oh, the lights are really bright, but I think I see a hand over there. Thanks.
Hi there. Thanks for simplifying. We're new to Domo in my company, and that was really kind of helpful to hear some of the pathway to going from the beginning to the end.
Right.
You mentioned that at some point you took the dashboards on a road show and asked what's missing. I'm curious about if you can talk a little bit about how you built the initial state dashboard, knowing that it's a very iterative process probably in the first days, and how you sourced what would be good to put there first, because I'm often interested in the fact that business has a lot of similarities across industries, and there's no such kind of standard prop it up, begin kind of package.
Jared's going to turn his mic on and take that one. Thanks for the
Okay.
question.
That's an excellent question. Where I think every business is unique. Where we started selfishly is what we needed to solve for our team. So we come from a yield and monetization and revenue side. So we were very focused on just getting the daily revenue and everything aggregated first and foremost. And then we just kind of went team by team based on their size, right? So we have a relatively large sales team. Hey, sales, we've now aggregated, we've coalesced this data. Do you need to see it by advertiser? Do you need to see it by team? And we kind of just went team by team, really by size and overall needs. And then what's important is we also mapped the needs by team. So we tried to find where there was overlap across the different teams, because if we're doing one thing and it services multiple teams at once, it's going to expedite adoption. So that's kind of how we went about it. But again, selfishly, from our own lens, we took our needs first and then pushed it out.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. It was nice to see what I feel like is what we kind of did ourselves. But I always get the question of, now I see what that is. Now can you give me the detail? How do you address that? They want me to drill down or have the next card be right there to tell them why we're down or why we're up or something. How do you address that? Do you have different dashboards or?
I see. So with the variables that I had up there, the variables that were selected were the result of a lot of back and forth on that use case that you just brought up. So if one thing is down, 80% of the time it would be because of these three things. And so we slot those three things into the variable selection. And then in the pivot table, I think that's why, simple concept, but honestly, it's really effective for this, is you have just a 2-column variable. So say account 1 is down, and you want to look at 3 things to see if any one of those 3 things were down like disproportionately, right? Well, you filter to account 1, and then you can say your first pivot table column is whatever dimension. So like those, I know that I'm speaking kind of broadly here, but those three things, right? You can choose a variable so that those 3 things are showing up. And then if you have a follow-up question, that second column now, you can choose yet another variable. So I think we did some math, like the matrix was like 10,000 different cuts of the data all in that same. Exactly, yeah.
It's extremely exponential, and your question resonates with me because there's a Jared team in Korea. I mentioned Samsung's a global company. We're Korean-based, and so there's a team just like me that monitors the business the same way I do. And so one of the initiatives that we took was how do we get to the most atomic, granular level so you can cut the business on every dimension that we are intaking. And so now, because Korea is 12 hours time shifted, I wake up to a nice laundry list of emails from them, but they're very specific questions. because they can now go in and they can cut very, very, very granular. Say, hey, I noticed this is happening and this is happening. Can you explain this? So while it's a double-edged sword, I'm getting a lot more questions. We're enabling the business to better understand the business and come with really specific questions to help guide the path forward.
Right. The questions are much further along now in their understanding. I'll add one more thing. Is it because you mentioned, is it in a different dashboard? In like some select cases, yes. For the most part, that variable feature handles it. But also in a dashboard, like the different cards don't need to be tied to the same data set. So sometimes we will have in the same dashboard, like, like a deep dive section further down tied to a completely different data set. There are some challenges there. Making the filtering all match together can be a challenge. But yeah, for the most part, it's just handled in that pivot table with those variables. Thanks for the question.
Anyone else?
We have 2 minutes and 35 seconds left if anyone has a question.
Great, because we were about to do our dance, so thank you for raising your hand.
With that said, are you sure? Yeah.
One question I personally have a problem with all the time is, when do you choose to necessarily use magic ETL over just a beast mode? I mean, I try and aggregate everything, but like at the same time, I know like everyone wants to see like, oh, here's all the detailed level data at the end. I'm just curious if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's kind of different use cases, honestly. I'll do my best to organize how I think about it. The first one is just kind of like getting a proof of concept up quickly. Beast mode's obviously faster. So if there's a formula, like if I'm writing any SQL, if there's a formula, I'm almost always doing a beast mode first, seeing how it looks, and then bringing that into the magic ETL later. The second one, I don't know what, you're not in ads, are you? What industry are you in? Okay. I'm no expert. I don't know the metrics you work with, but like for CPM, right? So the thing that often comes up, it's not a real challenge, but you don't want, CPM is, it's going to end up being like an average of cost per 1,000 impressions across all of your impressions. And obviously, once you start breaking that out, you run into the issue of taking an average of averages. So this is something where actually it cannot live in the magic ETL. Like CPM living in the data set itself almost never is useful, because it needs to be calculated like dynamically on the fly. So that's where the beast mode is like actually the only option. It won't work in the magic ETL. Those are the two big use cases. Let's maybe chat after. There's one other, but I don't have it fully baked in my mind of how to explain it clearly. So we can connect after.
All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you took something away from this.
Thank you. Thank you.